Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Review Morning Briefing. It is Wednesday, the 24th of July. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined once again by Joshua Barry. It's match day, Joshua. How are we doing?
It is. Looking forward to it. I think it's time Rangers showed something in this pre-season, isn't it? So I'm good. How are you? You're going tonight, aren't you? So looking forward to it. Tentatively on the back of this pre-season so far.
Yep, I think it's going to be a tough test, by the way, because Birmingham City have spent a bit of cash this summer. They've got designs of going straight back up to the Championship, but I think it will be a good workout for Rangers tonight. Of course, the Trevor Francis Memorial as well, so a bit of an emotional game, I'd imagine, also. But expecting thousands of Rangers fans making the journey south, and I'll be heading down shortly after this video as well. And like you say, Josh, I hope to see a better, improved performance than we witnessed at the weekend. So whether we get that or not remains to be seen, but we live in hope. But before we tackle all the Rangers news, just a quick word for our podcast sponsors. As ever, MPH Boilers. If your boiler is on its last legs, give these guys a call. They're the award-winning family-run business covering all of mainland Scotland. Right, where shall we start? We'll start with some latest transfer news, of course, and we've seen an image of the team heading down to Birmingham yesterday, Joshua, and interestingly, Connor Goldson had returned from Cyprus to team up with the squad heading down. It will be interesting to see if he forms part of the playing squad this evening. By all accounts, been having talks with Aris Limassol over in Cyprus. From the Cyprus end, I'm hearing that they are very confident of announcing a new signing by the end of the week. Now, no names have been mentioned, but certainly the talk over there is that Connor Goldson is edging closer to a move. So certainly one to keep an eye on, but it will be intriguing to see him tonight, to see what the squad is, to see if he features at any point.
Yeah, I guess it continues to be one of watch this space, Derek. The difference with obviously James Tavernier, a lot of people have obviously noticed the fact that he hasn't been training, but he has been injured. So it's a slightly different circumstance. You know, had he not been injured or come back into pre-season with a small injury, he would have trained. The fact that, you know, he was out there at pre-season, despite the fact that he wasn't training with the squad, kind of confirms that, tells you as much. It will be interesting to see if Goldson plays tonight. Don't believe there is only one club that is interested in him. I think the state of play probably remains very similar to yesterday. If you go all the way back to April time, Derek, when Goldson was dropped by Philippe Clement, that's something that hadn't happened throughout the whole of his time at Rangers. And he's actually someone who started well. If you think back to kind of Christmas time under Clement, when Rangers came back from that winter break, defensively they looked really strong. They went on that good run in the league, and then a few injuries started to catch up with them, and we all know what happened come the end of the season. So it'll be interesting to see if he does play a part tonight. As you say, I believe he has travelled down with the squad, having had some talks this week, and it's going to be one of watch this space, see what develops. Very similar to James Tavernier, these transfers can take a while to materialise, can't they? Especially, I think, in Goldson's case, when there is interest from a couple of clubs and not just one outfit. He obviously was on the bench on Saturday, wasn't he? And Clement said that the team that started on the bench would kind of make up the team that started against Birmingham tonight. So you expect to see the likes of, you know, Rabbi Matondo, who came off the bench at halftime as well. It's going to be interesting to see who Rangers play in central midfield, because it was Cole McKinnon and Kieran Dowell was their central midfield partnership behind Alex Lowry for the kind of 15-20 final minutes against Manchester United, and obviously Ross McCausland on the right. But Clement did say on Saturday it would be that team that started for 75 minutes or so, and then it would be a different starting 11 facing Birmingham tonight.
Yeah, the Irish press officer was on a separate radio station yesterday morning on the subject of signing a new centre-back. He says, we are close to a new signing. Things are not so easy as it involves several moving parts. We are doing our best to conclude a deal. We will not divulge any names. So there you go. That is the latest with regards to that, folks. Seen that the rumour mill went into overdrive as well last night, Joshua, and this morning folk are scouring players' Instagrams. And the latest player is a winger, Czech winger by the name of Václav Černý. Connor Davidson says, morning everyone, all aboard the Cherny Express. This is the Wolfsburg winger, plays on the right, just what we were speaking about yesterday, Joshua, wanting a right winger, a left-footed right winger. So certainly would fit the bill. He follows all his clubs. I think somebody said that his dad follows all the clubs that his son plays for, and he has started following Rangers as well. Should we read too much into that? I'm not entirely sure. I don't have any details on whether the move is imminent or not, but certainly it looks like a decent player, 26 years of age. Of course, had a decent reputation, played for FC 20 over there in the Eredivisie before moving to Wolfsburg in Germany. He's also represented his country, the Czech Republic. He's featured for Ajax and Utrecht as well. So he came up through Dutch football. And I see a lot of Rangers fans getting excited at the possibility of a Cherny arrival. But what excites me just about this guy, Joshua, is that he, like you said yesterday, he's a winger and Rangers need a right winger.
It is impressive investigative work from someone who's found out if his dad follows all those clubs. As the comment suggests there. Listen, I don't know anything about this, whether it is just something that has been stoked by Instagram rumours, because a couple of days ago it was Weghorst, wasn't it, who obviously was with the Netherlands away at Euro 2024 and perhaps is on slightly higher wages than Rangers could afford, but you never know. Clearly, they do need a right winger. I think that is especially, there's going to have to be an element of pragmatism, as we discussed. We're going to come on to look at the squad depth today, Derek, and just how much work Rangers have to do over the course of the next month. I know a lot of it's dependent on outgoings and when those outgoings happen, because you also have to have a squad that's going to get through the Champions League qualifiers. It's going to be Dinamo Kiev, who beat Partizan Belgrade, I think it was 6-2 last night. Wasn't it? It's going to be a difficult task to get through to the Champions League. But also, if you look at the teams that are in the way of Rangers in the group stage place, it is also doable with a stronger squad. Not the squad as it is at the moment, but they've got to configure that. Bar two changes they can make between the qualifiers if they're to make it through the third round. I think it's 8 days they now have to submit that squad. So there's going to have to be an element of getting loan players in. Some players that maybe come towards the end of the window aren't going to be part of that Champions League qualification campaign. And a right winger is something that they really need. The loan market is one we know that Koppen has used so far. He used it in January. He's used it in a loan-to-buy method as Rangers try to rebuild and restructure their squad. So yeah, maybe another one to keep an eye on. But if it's just on the back of Instagram rumours, then I think we could talk about a lot of transfers. But in the modern transfer market, things can start in strange ways, can't they?
Yeah, we'll try and do a bit of digging on that one, folks. Yeah, on Dynamo Kiev, before we look at that squad, they're pretty much through to the third qualifying round. I think it's going to be a tough task for Rangers getting through this. I've got to be honest, even if they do bring in some signings, it is a race against time. And I think it's going to be a tough encounter if they come up against Dynamo Kiev. They will be going to Poland, of course, if they finish the job next week. Lublin, I think it is, that they play their games. That's where they played last night. So if you are planning to go to that game, folks, it will take place on either the 6th or the 7th of August, barring an almighty collapse over in Belgrade next week. But certainly looked decent last night, that's for sure. Right, so the squad, well, in fact, before we go to the squad, a departure confirmed yesterday, and that is John Lee Yefeko. He's joined English League One side Exeter City on a season-long loan, and they do have an option to buy at the end of that as well. 21-year-old defender, of course. He's sort of struggled for game time at Rangers, and he's moved on down south to Devon Way, where he'll play under Gary Caldwell. So John Lee Yefeko heading out the door. Don't expect him to see him again in a Rangers jersey, Joshua. Just maybe not making the grade.
Yeah, and he's 21 isn't a young player anymore, isn't it? I think we have such a habit of thinking that a player's young till they're 23 or 24, which is the Robbie McCrory syndrome, isn't it? But he has had a few minutes that I'll always remember the goal line tackle. I think it was against Morton in the League Cup last season, where Rangers won 2-1 at home, and it was not the most comfortable victories. And he played a couple of friendlies under Clement, if memory serves me correctly, and that kind of left centre back slot, but also capable left back. But yeah, I mean, 21, you need to go and play football. Don't think those minutes are going to arrive. And Rangers have signed a left-sided central defender in Clinton Nsiala, who automatically would jump ahead of him in the pecking order. And we know how busy that left spot is with Ridvan and Hefty and Robbie Fraser in there as well. Makes sense for him to go and get minutes. And I agree with you. I would expect that whether or not it's that option to buy that he leaves on the back of next season, that the rest of his career would probably be away from Ibrox on the basis of the fact that he hasn't been able to break into that first team yet.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on this as well. A comment that caught my eye from Rosie says, "What about Trabzonspor signing a new right back means Tav isn't going?" Yet reports yesterday, well, they have announced a deal with Boa Vista in Portugal, Pedro Malheiro. So they've signed him. I believe he's a right back, but I don't think that's necessarily means they're not going to try and bring James Tavernier in as well. By all accounts, legitimate sources in Turkey suggest that he's already agreed terms and it's just about agreeing a fee with Rangers. Should we read too much into that, Joshua, that they've bought a right back? I think they're just... well, look at Rangers. I think there's several areas of the pitch, even though they've strengthened key areas, they're still looking to strengthen those areas. Centre back being one, of course. We'll bring the squad up in a little minute, but certainly Tavernier looks like he's edging closer to the exit door. Yeah.
I'm not too up to speed with their squad and kind of what they've needed to add over the course of this window. Obviously, as a lot of people have mentioned, they seem to have been very impressed with Rangers' run to the Europa League final a couple of seasons ago. But nothing's changed according to information we have on that move. Again, I think in relation to the Goldson one and a lot of outgoings, the timing needs to align for Rangers, and the sooner the better that these deals in and out obviously get done. And I know that is stating the obvious, but we are now, come Saturday, going to be only a week away from that game against Hearts. And if you look at Rangers' strongest starting 11 at the moment, as we keep reiterating, is it stronger than the one that finished the end of last season? Yes, it's not quite time to judge the transfer market now, but a lot can happen in the first couple of months of August. And as we look at the squad depth as we're going to for the next 15 minutes or so, Derek, I think there's still quite a few ins and outs to come, and especially areas to strengthen between now and that transfer window shutting at the end of August.
Yep, let's fire it up on said screen then, and we'll have a look at it in detail. JDS that raised the point, it says, "If we're really need to chat about our defence, frontline isn't our priority right now, so let's do just that." So the back line, of course, the new arrivals in yellow. So goalkeeping department, Butland going to be a bit quiet. I think the big noise.
I should just add, Derek, I forgot to put. I changed this. I've put in my first draft, so I should have put. I think it's Budinakis it's pronounced, and Mason Munn instead of Wright in there, who's obviously went out on loan before anyone shouts me.
Apologies to those two young lads if they are tuning in. I'm sure they are, but
because I think Mason Munn's someone who's really highly rated. We obviously saw him in that Youth Cup final recently. Got the new contract as well, but I think he is someone who Rangers have pretty high hopes for. So yes, apologies to him. I'm sure he won't care that much.
Yeah, and Budinakis is at Stranraer as well on loan. So we wish Lewis all the very best this season, and looking, and Kieran Wright as well, of course, who is at Airdrieonians. But Butland and Kelly and Mason Munn making up the goalkeeping trio. The back line then, where shall we start? We'll go full-backs perhaps to begin with. On the right-hand side, Tavernier we expect to leave Sterling and Devine.
Leon King should be on that in that right back position as well, but he can play at centre back. He discussed that after the game against Man United, that the majority of his minutes under Clement and they've been minimal, but especially in friendly games they have come at right back. Ridvan's going to be your first choice left back, again barring a bid that comes in that is for a lot of money. He's going to be here next season. Rangers will hope that the fitness issues that he's kind of quite consistently had, apart from that run in the team where he was one of the team, if not Rangers' best player at the start of the year. Yefty didn't have his finest moment against Manchester United. He was playing against a very good opponent. in Amad Diallo. Expect him to compete with Ridvan. He can also play higher up the pitch as well. We've seen Robbie Fraser do that. And he's someone who, although he's probably not going to be ready to start games right away, he's obviously a signing that's been involved the whole of pre-season, for example, unlike Hamza Egamani. And at right back, I guess the question is if and when James Tavernier's to leave the club, Derek, which, as you say, is more an expectation of when. It is, do Rangers look to strengthen that position behind Dujon Sterling? He's someone who, also open to obviously playing in the middle of the pitch. I think there's recognition on both sides that playing in one position is going to benefit him, and also the fact that we'll talk about this more. But when you take Tavernier's numbers out of that side, when you look at how Tavernier compares to Sterling, and listen, Sterling's final ball isn't nearly as effective as Tavernier. I think he can still be an effective player going forward. Absolutely, we've seen that when he's been playing in the middle of the pitch. He's someone who can strike a ball as well, but then the dynamic ahead of him on the right wing probably needs to change as well. So the left back spot, you wouldn't expect that to change between now and the end of the transfer window. I guess the question is, do you need a little bit more depth in at right back? But if Leon King is there, if he's going to stay, he needs to play some amount of minutes. And that is obviously where we've seen him get match minutes so far in this pre-season. It has been at right back.
Yeah, on the issue of Shefty, I know he was getting pelters for his performance at the weekend. We need to remember he is 20 years old. He's younger than Robbie Fraser. He's just a kid. So we can't expect him to come in and be Sasa Papach from day one. So I think Ridvan will have the jersey, and it's up to Shefty and Robbie Fraser to do what they can to push Ridvan all the way. We know he's been injured for large parts of his Rangers career as Ridvan, so I'd imagine there will be opportunities for those two to feature. But yeah, left back isn't necessarily a big major worry for me. Right back, yes. Dujon Sterling, quite happy with that, but he's another one that has been injured at various points. Is Adam Devine good enough to step into action on that right-hand side if he drops out, or is Leon King the answer? I'm not too sure. Jury's very much out there. I think Rangers may need to strengthen in that department. The centre-back positions, a lot of folks, people are messing in saying, take that down. we're ruining their morning, but we need to We've got
to talk about something every morning, Derek, don't we? We've got to talk about something.
Yeah, so centre-backs.
Yeah.
Where shall we start? Well, we expect Goldson to leave. So you've got Suter on the right-hand side, and King can play right centre-back. And on the level, Balogun can play there as well, of course. You've also got Leon Balogun, Ben Davis, and Clinton Nsiala. So it's clear to me, looking at that, Joshua, Rangers needs to strengthen at centre-half. I want to see a dominant centre-half coming in, someone that is a no-nonsense defender. Yes, good with the ball at their feet, but someone that take great pride in defending, and you're not really afraid about clangers and brain farts, shall we say.
Yeah. They need to strengthen, don't they, at centre-back? I mean, the interesting thing is the Cordoba move, which obviously broke down as the player moved to Norwich, and there was complications in that transfer, and I believe Rangers were unhappy with some of the way that was kind of negotiated from his side in terms of having an agreement and that that breaking down and there being complications. But he was a different, I guess maybe similar profile to Nsiala, and it was a young defender, very comfortable on the left-hand side of the defence. But if you look at their exposure to match minutes, it's very different. So you're talking about Yefty there being only 20 years old. And that's true. He's younger than Robbie Fraser. Pre-season can tell us a lot or not much. Remember, as we discussed yesterday, Derek, Abdallah Sima's pre-season compared to someone like Sam Lammers and how their season at Rangers would actually unfold. But similarly, Mohamed Diamandi's played nearly 200 games by 22, and Clinton Nsiala's played effectively 0 first-team games as an out-and-out starter, age 20. Now, he was at AC Milan. Career trajectories can be different, but he's clearly not someone who's going to be your starting centre-back away at Hearts and therein going forwards on that left-hand side of the fence. Ben Davies has still got 2 years left on his contract. There was a lot more noise, I would say, about him moving on last year. I believe wages were an issue. There was a lot of interest in him from the Championship. Leon Balogun obviously is offering a bit of continuity in there. John Souttar the same. Spoke to him at the weekend in his press conference about where he prefers playing. Last season, he said, was the first time he'd really played on the left consistently. And he did say that playing on the right-hand side is more comfortable for him in terms of stepping out, but you'll play wherever. I don't think whatever configuration of centre-back you go with, and I guess this is the question, again, if and when Goldson goes, Derek, what is your strongest partnership there to get Rangers through the Champions League qualifiers in the first few months of the season? First few weeks. No doubt that they need to strengthen it in there, but no doubt that they've actually needed to strengthen. If you remember, we had this discussion quite a lot last summer, especially after Balogun signed, and there was always a topic of, are Rangers going to go and spend more money in that centre-back area because they need to, and obviously they didn't between then and the end of the transfer window closing. I don't think I'm in a minority by suggesting that they probably need to add someone, especially if Connor Goldson goes. But regardless of that, they need, I guess, a new core of the squad, as we've discussed all summer, and getting in a centre-back who's going to play the majority of your games would be a good starting point for that.
Yeah, that's a priority for Rangers, there's no doubt about it. Midfield then, the central areas, Nico Raskin out for another 5 weeks there or thereabouts after his injury against Ajax, which is hugely unfortunate. Mohamed Diamande in there. Connor Barron, I think, is impressed. Look forward to seeing him tonight. Hopefully he gets some minutes. I imagine he will do. Cole McKinnon, I think, will be contributing at various points throughout the course of the season. I like Cole McKinnon as a player. Kieran Dowell can leave for me. I don't think he offers enough, and I can't see him spending much longer influencing this Rangers first team squad. I think it would be, suit all parties if he was to move on. But again, that midfield area for me, Joshua, it looks light. I would like to see someone else come in. Well, that Rangers were linked just over a week ago. They had a loan bid knocked back by Sevilla for Joan Jordan. Good video, incidentally, on him on the Rangers Review Extra channel yesterday, folks, from Ruri Barlow, who's an editor for Football España. So quite interesting stuff. But certainly Rangers need an enforcer in there. Joshua, do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, that's why you see the links to Jordan, because Rangers, again, before Nico Raskin was injured, and I really feel for him because he hasn't had a clear run at it really since this time last year, has he? When, if you look back to the last pre-season, there was a lot of excitement surrounding Nico Raskin, and he had a really difficult season with injuries and also not quite fitting into Clement's plans, and then only getting in really towards the tail end of the season. Thought he was good in the Scottish Cup final alongside Mohamed Diamande in the middle, but it's going to be a while now until he gets up to speed with what was a really bad tackle in a friendly game. So you've got to feel for him. They need depth in there. Connor Barron has impressed me. I think he looks like someone who's going to be able to contribute quickly. He obviously knows the league. He's not going to take too much bedding in time, and that's a positive, because if you look at the 5 permanent signings, obviously Liam Kelly's largely going to be a backup goalkeeper, although he made some good saves in that Ajax game. But you're looking at Barron really being the only starter. I know Cortez arrived this summer, but he was at the club since January, wasn't he? So Barron is really the only out-and-out starter so far. And behind them, Kieran Dowell obviously played a bit deeper, as we saw under Clement last season. Again, suffered that injury away in pre-season. And Cole McKinnon kind of filled in different positions, played on the right at points when he came on as a substitute. Like the centre-back position, Rangers need, I think they need ready-now players in the middle of the park. Mohamed Diamande, for me, will maybe be Rangers' most important player this season. And I think already I would probably say is Rangers' best player. And he's only 22. He's the exact type of signing they need to make, because he's ready to impact things now, but you could feasibly sell him for a lot of money in a couple of years and he'll still only be 24. He needs more quality around him, though, because I still feel, watching this Rangers midfield, that Diamande, and that's not criticism of Barron per se, because I think he's come in and done really well in pre-season, but I still look at that Rangers midfield and think Diamande is trying to do too much. Do you know what I mean? I think if you had someone who was the number 6, who then allows the type of profiles like Diamande and Raskin and Barron, who are more maybe number 8s, or who've got the energy to go up and down the pitch, that would enable him to play his best football, because at the moment I still feel like he's trying to and tasked with doing too much in the middle of the park.
Yeah, there's a comment saying where's Bailey Rice, but we've not really seen him in pre-season, have we? He's been part of the B team, so whether he can jump up and really feature, who knows? But wonder if I don't know if he's travelled with the squad down to Birmingham as well, but yeah, he hasn't been seen really. The number 10 role is the problematic area for me. I'd scrap it. Rangers with the options there. Lawrence Cantwell, who we think will be moving on. Alex Lowry, not seen enough of young Alex, unfortunately. Let's hope we see a bit of him tonight. Yanis Hadji will be moving on as well. Rangers, if they are going to play with a number 10, we know Philip Clement likes to play with a number 10, Joshua, he's going to have to go out and buy a number 10 if he wants to play that way.
Yeah, I've not heard anything about Lawrence leaving, and obviously he's been quite an important part of the pre-season. Again, we're going to talk more about style of play next week. We're going to have some content lined up on what exactly Clement is trying to do. He is sticking to this, isn't he? And you can see it in pre-season. He is very much sticking to this style of play. And at the moment, Todd Cantwell hasn't really been involved in pre-season. Obviously played in that behind closed doors game against Hamilton and I think scored. I'd like to see more of Alex Lowry. Still think it's never been a case of quality for him. It's a case about can circumstances align? Can he go and seize his opportunity? Can he do the work off the ball for a manager, especially like Clement, to be trusted in that role? Yanis Hadji as well. We know that the Rangers are open to offers for him. Just shows you, Derek, how much could change, because you're looking at this squad and people are saying, yes, there's a lot of work. But remember that a squad has to be submitted for the Champions League qualifier in 8 days, and you've got the game against Hearts in 10 days. So although the transfer market is open for quite a while longer, Rangers have to make that work in the meantime. But there's not someone, because of if Cantwell had come in and the noises had been different in terms of Rangers not being open to offers for him. At the start of the year, I thought he was really growing into that number 10 role under Clement. He's not a natural kind of goal scoring number 10, is he? He's someone who likes a lot of freedom on the pitch, and everyone knows his technical qualities. But I guess the question is, will Clement go out and get someone who is a real fit for his style of playing that number 10 position? I'm not sure. I think there's a lot of unknowns about that position as we talk just now. But again, the problem with Rangers is they've got to have it solved, or they've got to have a short-term resolution for these big games coming up in just a matter of days' time.
Yeah, it's a concern, as are the wide positions. On the left, Oscar Cortez, I think will be a good addition. Ravi Matondo, listen, I think the time has come to try and move him on. But again, he's one, like a number of players in the squad, that are on a very good wage. So I don't blame him for wanting to stick around. On the right-hand side, Ross McCausland, I think, big breakthrough season for him last year. We touched on him in the show yesterday, Joshua. I think he can contribute this season as well. Scott Wright, we know there's interest in him from teams down south as well as abroad. Whether he moves on this summer or not, who knows? But Rangers need a right winger. We touched on it at the top of the show. Probably need a left winger as well.
Yeah, I don't think you'll see a left. I mean, if again, circumstances align and Rangers could get Abdallah Sima back to the club, and obviously we know there's been a difference in valuation there, and the type of money that Brighton would be looking for him at the start of the window if they are going to sell is not the type of money that Rangers have been able to pay at that moment in time. Matondo, again, I thought in moments he came onto a game under Clement, obviously scored that Old Firm goal. I wouldn't expect him to leave this summer. Cortez is clearly your first choice in there. Matondo is an impact sub. I think he can do that. There was a spell at the start of the year where he scored against Aberdeen and Livingston and someone else, and then got injured. I think we've seen that he has moments under Clement. We've not seen him ever not be more than a moment's player, if that makes sense, at Rangers. So if that left wing position remains as it is at the moment, I'd very much expect Cortez to be your starter and Matondo to be your impact sub. On the right, again, we discussed that yesterday. In an ideal situation, you have an experienced right winger. Journey obviously was the name mentioned today, and remains to be seen if there is anything in that link. But if you can get an experienced right winger, not even experienced, just someone who's maybe a little bit older than McCausland, I think the left footed right winger is a profile that probably a lot of clubs want. But if then McCausland was competing with that player, then the right wing slot looks a lot better. And we'll come on to up top. Obviously, we're talking about it on the website today. Egamani, more one for the future, but will contribute this season and has to contribute this season for where Rangers squad is. And even though it's not a huge transfer fee, money has been spent on him. Danilo, still coming back from injury, looked sharp enough when he came off the bench against Manchester United. How ready is he going to be for the first couple of months of the season? And Cyril Dessers is someone who we know that if Rangers get the right bid for him, he's 29 years old. It would make sense to let him leave with a number of years still left on his contract. And given the fact he scored 22 goals last season, the question is then what type of profile to Rangers go in for if they can get money for Cyril Dessers. Sam Lammers isn't even on the list because, he's not been part of the pre-season. The expectation since the end of last season would be that Rangers would sell him to try and regenerate funds, but obviously that has materialised at effectively quite a slow pace.
The forwards, Egeman, I've not seen any of them, so I can't really judge him just now. But another young lad, the manager said it's going to take him time just to learn the language, culture, all that sort of stuff. So we need to be patient with him. Danilo, let's hope he can really hit the ground running. Cyril Dessers, let's hope will move on, and ties in with a piece you've got on the website this morning, Joshua, on Lawrence Shankland. If that is the option, I'd be pretty content with that. A Danilo Shankland, Egeman, or someone else. We cannot have Cyril Dessers leading the line this season. I know goal scoring record aside, is the supporters saying after the weekend they cannot go another season watching this guy leading the line for Rangers. So if a suitable offer comes in, then he simply has to move on. So, interesting. I know a lot of people commenting and saying it's depressed the hell out of them that watched looking at that graphic this morning, but it is what it is, the Rangers' state of play at this moment in time. We do expect that to change, of course, as the days progress, but we are running out of days before the big games come around the corner. So, right, well, we'll wrap up there. Just a reminder, if you haven't already done so, we've got the Rangers Review WhatsApp group running now. The link is in the description below, so if you want to keep up to date with all the latest news coming out of Ibrox, be sure to join us on there. As Joshua touched on, I'll be heading down the M6 towards St Andrews tonight. We'll have all the usual content, pre-match stuff, as well as a post-match content as well. We'll hear from the manager, which will be interesting as well. So we hope you can join us for that a little bit later on. If we don't speak to you, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Bye for now.